Yo, what's going on, guys? Koi here. Today, we're going to be talking about pretty much what I experienced pretty much playing through the game as someone who actually puts in stat points. How do I feel about certain areas with specific stat points, and what's probably the best way that you should handle it too? Because let me be real, there are some very, very large gaps between us and power, between the Android Saga, of course, Space Saga, and then Boo Saga. And then, with that being the case, I do want to go over the stat system and pretty much what I've been through so far, and with some gameplay, of course, for you guys to take a look at. So with this playthrough, I did play as King Kai. We pretty much got like the full set a little later because King Kai's actual fit is like super expensive, but you'll see towards the end of the video, we did complete getting King Kai. We also got his legendary form, so that's very dope. If you don't know the legendary form, I believe it's from Dragon Ball AF. It's the demon. It's like a hybrid demon Kai mix thing, and I think it looks very dope. Honestly, I love it so much because it has like the horns sticking out and stuff like that. It's not very like crazy crazy, but I honestly like it. Um, the other part is pretty much where I got stat points. I felt like I breezed through Saiyan Saga and Namekian Saga. It felt so smooth, and then all of a sudden I get to the Android Saga where they're getting there. You know what I mean? I realize the Android Saga, the characters are doing like 40,000 damage, 60,000 damage, and they're doing a lot of damage. A lot of their moves do a lot of damage. And keep in mind, I have to state this because a lot of people don't know this, but state of the game right now is that only the rushes were fixed last patch. So since rushes are the only things that are balanced right now, there's tons of moves that are very broken, key wise, counter wise, and there's tons of other cheese that is very broken right now, especially with ultimates. So, with that being the case, that's why I don't take a lot of word of advice from, people in the comments and stuff like that. It's because I don't want to do cheese methods in order to beat the game. I want to play the game and then see how it goes from there, and using the Keyblade, using the Key Style, mixing it with Mercenary Town, Nam, and then also Birder. I did get a nice feel for it, and I think that it's a fantastic addition to a key-based race. I think it's a little broken, but I only think that's broken because that's not the way that. Well, no. You know what it feels like? It feels like Dragon Ball Z. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm actually using the actual key attacks and then also the key moves at the same time. It feels really, really good. The only problem is that a lot of the key moves in the game are absolute dog shit right now because they're not balanced at all. And a lot of them are either overpriced, underpriced. The only one that feels like super good is like stuff like Eraser Volley and Pico Drill Beam. But of course, by the time you get those, you're already in space. Every move before that's absolute dog shit, including moves that are in the 400 range. So we're still waiting for the next things to get like buffed. We're still waiting for the balancing of key. We're still waiting for the balancing of ultimates. But now let's talk about the stats and how I feel about the stats while putting in stats. So getting to the Android Saga, I felt like I needed at least 500 HP points in order to even survive half the attacks. And that's not including raids, by the way. You'll see some gameplay that I put in here of me completing a raid and also getting absolutely one tapped. Now, being one tapped by a counterattack is quite crazy. It just shows that a lot of these raid bosses are overtuned, and especially HP wise, they got like at least a million HP, and then they also do like at least 80,000 damage or so, and stuff like that. And they even hurt people who are in the level 700 range. Yes, there are some cheese methods you could use at level 700. You could donate all your points into there. It took someone with like 8,000 in key who was using a Potara in order to like really just take on these bosses with no problem at all. And that's the thing. You need to be end game in order to handle these bosses. These bosses that have some of the worst moves that you could take to future sagas. So this is the way that raids are supposed to work in like the developer's eyes. Is they're supposed to work within that area, but those moves don't transfer any further. The only move that actually scales accordingly is Pico Drill Beam. That's the only move in the game that scales raid wise to the next area. Everything else is either, on par, or everything else is under the next area. So that's just how that's going to work. The rest, I kind of donated the rest of my points into damage. That's when I got to space. Space wise, I felt like the HP of the bosses was in the same category of Android Saga, but the damage that they did was pretty significant. At least some of the moves that they can do, key wise or stuff like that, their modifiers are different than ours because they obviously can do 40,000 damage, 50,000 damage with just key moves, and I felt like I needed 1,000 HP points at that point. Then I started donating the rest into pretty much like damage, and I kept going from there. Now, getting through the space saga, I decided to take a break after the Pico raid because it was a school night. A lot of people wanted to join me in Boo Saga, and that's totally fine. I'll see you guys in Boo Saga, of course, whenever we stream again, because I'm saving that one for you guys. Well, I already got the King Kai Legend form, so we're gonna go ahead and practice that too. Make sure I master that because I'm gonna need the next form. And that's the other thing. You're going to need forms. You're going to need forms for as much damage reduction as you could possibly get. Because without that damage reduction, you're going to struggle with most of the bosses in the entire game. And with that being an issue, there's really nothing we could do besides just take it on the chin and be like, okay, this is what you got to do. Do it the best way you can, but most likely you're going to struggle quite a bit. And I feel bad mostly for races such as bioandroid, androids in general, because key related races are going to struggle against doing more damage because there's no significant key move in the game as of this moment. Until you get to end game, then those are overtuned as fuck. So it's like, right now, is the game really, really worth playing? Especially whenever it comes down to like key users, it's really hard for me to say, man. It really is because honestly, I tried super hard to make key moves work. I bought some of the most expensive ones you could get, and I didn't even go for trainer moves because a lot of those are undertuned or overtuned. But I use the shop as a gauge, the way that the developers want us to, which is get these moves that are specifically used in this saga that have specifically this amount of usage that you can use for the next saga, and then you switch your move set the second you get to the next saga. And that's just, it's a lot of work. I feel like they should just try to implement the brand new mode as much as they can for mastering moves, because right now it just doesn't feel good, like taking a move that you thought was good and then just it's bad in the end. All right, well, that kind of does it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Take it easy, and take it peace out. Enjoy your weekend.